Hey guys, welcome to Measurement Training, where we're going to talk about all things measurement today. Good morning to you and welcome. So measurement training, here's the fancy definition for you. Process of applying quantitative labels to describe and differentiate objects and natural events. What are we doing here? What is this all about? Are we like carpenters or measuring? What are we doing?
It's all about the
Measure,
data.
measure twice, cut once.
Measuring behavior here.
Oh, measuring behavior. That's right. So we're measuring behavior is what we're doing. And so we're measuring the targeted behaviors that we are interested in observing and changing. And why are we doing this? Why are we measuring this data? Seems like a lot of work to get everyone on board with this. Why are we doing this?
I think we
Think
need
we need to.
we need to
That's
know
our job.
well, that too, yeah. We need to know where we're at to see what we're working with. Maybe we
It's
can.
our job. We need to see where we're at, what we're working with.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To see if there's any changes.
Yeah, see if there's any changes in behavior, especially when we're implementing interventions, we're making changes to the environment, where other people may be making changes to the environment based on behaviors. It's important that we continuously measure behaviors so we could show what we're doing is actually working. And it's one of the beautiful things about ABA that it isn't just a feeling that it's working or anything like that, but actually proof that it is working. So it's important. And think about all the effort and time we spend writing behavior support plans, training staff, and teaching VIPs new skills. And we want to make sure that what we're doing is effective, that it is working. So that's where measurement comes in. And also measurement is going to tell us a lot of information during the baseline phase, making sure that the problems that we're being told are actually still a problem, still happening, still warrant us working on. So it's important that we are measuring data. All right, let's get into it. So there's three steps to measurement in ABA. We need to identify the behavior to be measured, and this is done through the FBA process, through our direct observations, through our indirect observations. And there's going to be behaviors that are reported to us or that we observe that are in need of improvement. So we're going to identify those behaviors. And sometimes they're told to us during an interview. Sometimes we notice them during our direct observation. I like to kind of when I'm doing my FBA, I'm kind of recording on a ton of different behaviors potentially, trying to kind of identify which ones are in need of work and special ABA interventions. We're going to define those behaviors in observable terms, which we reviewed in another training about target behaviors. And then we're going to select an appropriate observation and data recording method, which is what we're going to be talking about today. So the first types of methods, and guys, this is important for us to know when we're selecting the type of measurement we're going to be using. But also important if you plan on taking your RBT exam, this is one of the main topics on the exam is continuous methods. So when we say continuous methods, what makes them continuous? Why are they called continuous? If you didn't know anything about this, why do you think it would be called continuous? Oops.
Ongoing.
Yes, it's ongoing. Anyone else? Even if you're wrong, we'd love to hear from you. Why is it called continuous?
This is like a method that you could just do through like time, like through present time.
Yes, we do it through time. That's correct. Someone else.
Because you're constantly tracking behaviors.
Yes, we're constantly tracking behaviors, and there's no break associated with continuous methods. When we choose a continuous method, there's no break. So what's a really important consideration when we pick a continuous method since there's no break involved? That the recorder has what?
Has a
The
lot of.
right,
What was it? Sorry.
Go ahead, Andy.
I was just gonna say the right tools, like and like the reality of how they're gonna do it, like how their job is set up if they're able to, do it straight through or like in breaks.
Yes, so we want to make sure they have the tools to be able to record, that they don't require a break. So what's another word for this?
Resources.
Yeah, the resources. They have to have the resources to be able to record, right? They have to be able to, if we give someone a continuous method, like a direct care worker, a mother, a father, a group home manager, we better be sure that they have the ability to record continuously, that they have the resources to record and they do not need a break because these types of methods are important that we record ongoingly and we capture every instance of behavior. So there's no break associated with them. So let's look at them. First one is rate or frequency, and that's just the number of responses per unit of time. And guys, when we're using central reach, 9 times out of 10 for maladaptive behaviors, you want to make sure you are choosing a frequency on your central reach document and in your behavior support plan. So when you're writing maladaptive behaviors, default your brain to think about rate or I think it's frequency in central reach is what they call it. And these behaviors are always put where on our session document? Where are they put on our session data collection?
They're pinned at the bottom.
Good job, Joe. That's right. They're pinned at the bottom. So these maladaptive behaviors, we're choosing rate for, and we're also pinning them at the bottom. Thank you. That's totally correct. So there's other methods of recording continuously that we may consider that we may need to use outside of frequency. So it's important we do know them. And the first one's duration. And the duration is the amount of time from the onset to the end point of a response. So duration might come into play if we have a behavior that's occurring for too long or for too short of a time. We want the behavior to occur for longer amounts of times. Well, duration makes a lot of sense to use in those occurrences. What kind of behavior might we choose for a duration recording?
Repeating.
Bathroom
Like someone
situation.
Repeating, I heard.
Yeah, repeating behaviors, like someone who engages in repeating for a period of time.
Yeah, okay, that could be a useful recording method for repeating, especially if it's a behavior that's continuing to occur in succession and it occurs throughout time, and we want to lower the occurrence of this repeating. So yeah, duration. Anything? I heard someone else.
Room situation.
What was it?
A bathroom situation that like a client will go to the bathroom a lot, try to cut down time.
Maybe time spent in the bathroom. Maybe we suspect they might be using it as a break or using it to kind of escape a learning opportunity or something like that. So you might want to choose a duration recording for that. Was there any other examples?
Toleration of a location or an activity.
Toleration of a location or activity, like we have someone that's maybe starting at the day program and they're kind of getting used to it, warming up. We want to show that what we're doing there has that positive reinforcement effect, that it's slowly increasing over time. So we choose duration. So just think the time from the onset to the end point of a response. Latency. So this is a measure of the elapsed time between an onset of a stimulus and the subsequent response. So this is the time between an antecedent and the behavior. So we may choose this recording if someone's having trouble maybe answering questions in a timely fashion. Or, I always think for latency, the fire alarm, because it's so serious. So the fire alarm goes off, it's an antecedent stimuli. How long before people are vacating the building? Hopefully it is immediate, that there's very low latency in that occurrence. And then finally, we have inner response time, which is it's just similar in a way to latency, but it is different. It's a measure of the amount of time that elapsed between two consecutive instances of a behavior. So if we have a behavior that we want to occur more often or less often, we may consider using inner response time. I always think about that kid in the classroom who's asking to use the bathroom in every 10 minutes to leave the room. It's not a bad behavior per se to use the bathroom, but it's happening too often. We may want to consider recording with inner response time. Any questions about continuous methods, guys? So these are the 4 continuous methods. I'd say probably most of the time you're using rate or frequency. Sometimes you're using the rest of them. Any questions about them or anything to add? I think the major point is when you're giving this, a lot of times we have the ability to continuously record, but when we're giving it to other people, like stakeholders, staff, or maybe the VIP themselves, they might not have the resources to record. So we may need to look for other methods of recording so we could still get some quantifiable data. So these are continuous methods. Any questions about them? We have the discontinuous methods next. They're also called time sampling. Okay, so all of these have to do with time in a way. So what if the other ones are continuous because, and we can never stop recording, what can you think these have? What do you think a feature of discontinuous methods is?
That once the behavior is displayed, you stop recording for that time interval.
Yes, so there is a break to recording, right? There is a break to recording. And that's partial interval recording where there is a break if the behavior happens one time, but whole interval would happen until the behavior stops. So we're going to look at both of those in a minute. So discontinuous methods are there's a break to recording. There's going to be a break for the data recorder someplace with each of these methods. So what if this person doesn't have a lot of resources, these to record, these might be a method that you choose to record with. Now, what might be a reason why someone doesn't have resources to record?
A staff might have multiple clients as they're working with this individual.
Yeah, the staff might have multiple clients that they're overseeing that they might not be able to give their 100% attention to this data recording. So they have other responsibilities that they must tend to. A teacher in the classroom has to manage like 30 kids, maybe up to 30 kids, hopefully not that many, but they might not have time to record. They might not have that ability to continuously record. A mom who has two other kids or two other people they're taking care of in the home might not have the ability to continuously record, just doesn't have the resources. And what we tend to see is when we give someone a continuous method, we may need to alter what we give them in the future when we start to see that the data isn't coming in as reliably. That just like our behavior support plan, we're altering our data recording and measurement techniques to better serve our VIPs and better serve our stakeholders ability to record. Okay, so we got to tailor fit our data recording methods to kind of this what's going to be work for our stakeholders. And I always think when I'm working with someone, if I give someone like an ABC data recording sheet, they're not filling it in, I'm going to slowly try to make it easier and tailor fit the data recording to something that will work for them, all the way to like maybe a notebook where they're going to write down like a little narrative about what happened, or to simply like just draw tally marks on a whiteboard for me so I could come and record when I come for my weekly session. So discontinuous methods. So not a lot of resources to record. Good thing because these offer a break in recording. So let's get into it. The first one we're going to go is whole interval recording. Whole interval. And then the name kind of gives away what we're looking for with this recording. All of these are going to split the observation period into equal time intervals. So that's the first step with this. So if you're working, at the day program and you wanted to do hour intervals for a behavior, you would have 6 boxes on your data recording sheet. And for whole interval recording, typically these are for behaviors that we want to strengthen. We want to happen more often for whole interval behavior. Whole interval recording, because we want the behaviors to happen for the whole entire interval. So what could be a behavior we choose to record with whole interval recording?
They're staying in their seat for the entire lesson or session.
Yeah, if we're working with someone in school and they have class or something like that, they need to remain in their seat during the class, right? So we might choose a whole interval recording where we are going to record if they remained in their desk, if they sat at their desk, and if they got up at any moment in time during that. I shouldn't have said it that way, but if they were to get up for any period of time, we would mark no that they didn't have the behavior for the whole interval and we're done recording until the next interval starts. So that's whole interval recording, and it's for behaviors that we'd like to strengthen, that we'd like to improve upon. The next one's partial interval recording. And again, the name kind of gives away what we're doing here. We're going to first divide the observation period into equal time intervals. And we're going to record if the behavior occurred during any part of the interval. And this is kind of a little bit of the opposite to whole interval recording, because we only choose partial interval recording for the behaviors that we want to weaken. So those maladaptive behaviors, those problem behaviors fit nicely with partial interval recording. So someone tell me in the team, when do we stop recording for partial interval? When does that break happen?
Once that behavior happens.
Yes, once the behavior happens, we are done recording until the next interval begins, right? So think about like a mother taking care of like a few people in their home, and we give them a partial interval recording for yelling, and they have a chart hung up on their fridge or something like that, and they hear the VIP yell, engage in that problem behavior. Well, they're simply going to walk over to the data recording, put a check mark in the interval for that when that behavior occurred, and then she or he is done recording until the next interval begins. What is the potential limitation of these types of recordings you see right away? What's the problem with this?
If the behavior occurs again, you're not recording it.
That's right. That's exactly the problem with this, right? So like we might come in and say, oh, this behavior happened. We have to think at least one time, but it could have happened many, many more times during that interval, but we only see that one occurrence happen during the interval. So we have to keep that in mind when we're reviewing this data. And what kind of number would be slapped onto our graph for partial interval and whole interval? What kind of, like, how does this turn into numbers?
It's going to be a percentage.
Yes, that's right. It's going to be a percentage. So we're gonna select the amount of times that we have yeses, and then we're going to divide it by the total number of intervals. And Central Reach, of course, will do this for you automatically. And remember, on Central Reach, this is labeled time sampling. It is not called discontinuous methods in Central Reach, but time sampling. So that's whole interval. Appreciate the participation, guys. Thank you so much. Whole interval recording and partial interval recording are the two main types of time sampling or discontinuous methods. Any questions about that? And just remember, the name kind of gives away what we're trying to do here. Whole interval, we want the behavior to occur for the whole interval. Partial interval, we want the behavior to occur for any part of the interval. Any questions about these or anything to add? And we could kind of, like on the data recording sheet, like a lot of people we work with might not have access to Central Reach. So like Sue and I made manual data recording methods for this in the past, where we would have boxes and we'd have yes or no. And we're just literally indicating, did the behavior happen at all during the interval for partial interval? And they would circle yes or no, or put a check or an X, and then they're done recording until the next interval begins. So it could be useful for people that don't have a lot of resources to record. People at the day program, people that have a lot of other responsibilities throughout the day, and we still need that data recording method. The last one is for people that really don't have any resources at all to record. They're very busy. And I mentioned that teacher with that 30 students in the classroom. And we observe if behavior occurs at the end of the interval. So momentary time, I always think that moment in time. So at the end of the interval, we're going to maybe set our watch or our phone to privately vibrate when the end of the interval occurs. And we're going to look at the behavior of the person we're interested in recording. And we're going to see if that behavior is happening during that moment in time. If it is, we're going to put a yes. And if it's no, we're going to put a no. So momentary time. So for someone that really doesn't have any resources to record besides that one moment where they're looking and they're still recording, so even then we could still get some data. What do you think the problem is with that recording method?
Not always going to be accurate.
Yeah, the behavior could occur for all the other times during the interval, the brief interval, the brief equal intervals. But then at the end of the interval, the behavior stops and we're recording that it wasn't happening or the opposite. So momentary time. But do you see the ABA's commitment to making sure that we have some kind of data, even though it might not be as reliable or as accurate? We are still doing our very best to record and gather data to use our graph all kind of different ways. Does anyone have any questions about any of the methods we reviewed already? Okay. We have some derivative measures that we're going to take a look at. Percentage of opportunities, and we use this one a lot, percent correct. And this is the type of recording that we use in Central Reach for skill improvement behaviors or skill acquisition behaviors. And the proportion of observation interval trials where the behavior occurred in. So again, we are just setting up opportunities and we are recognizing if our VIP participated in that behavior or they did not. We are just trying, and I always tell people, this is our job. If you had supervision with me and we're talking about percent correct or percent of opportunities, our job is to set up opportunities to practice skill improvement behaviors. So we should try to do this as often as possible when we're working with our VIPs throughout the day. If we're working on a certain skill or something like that, we want to set up opportunities to practice this skill by capturing motivation, by capturing just natural moments where this behavior could come into play. So what could be a behavior that we use for percent correct or percentage of opportunities?
Like morning ADLs.
Yeah, morning ADL. So we're gonna work on like brushing teeth. We're gonna encourage our VIPs to brush their teeth in the morning, and those kind of things. We're gonna set up opportunities to brush, and we hope our VIP will engage in that behavior. And we're gonna mark yes if they did, and we're gonna mark no if they didn't. And we could expect, of course, a percentage on our graph. So percent correct, guys, is what it says in Central Reach. And that should be chosen 9 times out of 10 for skill improvement behaviors on your program goal and as well on your data recording sheet. Percentage of opportunities. And the way to think about it is you are setting up opportunities to practice that behavior. So it should only be used for skill improvement behaviors or behaviors we want to see more often. So 9 times out of 10, if you keep this rule in your mind, frequency for problem behaviors, percent correct for skill improvement behaviors, you're well on your way to writing program goals in your behavior support plan and collecting accurate data on Central Reach. Does anyone have any questions about that? I'd love to hear them. Okay, percentage of opportunities. There's other methods, of course. We have this gentleman who's making brooms, and we're going to be talking about a permanent product here. So what is a permanent product? What are we doing here?
Showing proof of the methods that we're using or the strategies that we're implementing and showing if it's working or not.
Okay, that's what we're trying to do. Yes, you're right. But what specifically is permanent product all about?
We don't have to see the behavior actually like happen, but like whatever the clue was on the environment or like it was there to show that happen. For example, like a client a program to see if he used wet wipes, we would look in the garbage, and if the wet wipes were dirty, then we know that he used them.
Yes. So we're going to look at the effect the behavior produced on the environment, right? To kind of show that the behavior happened or not. So this could be a useful recording strategy if we are not readily there to observe a behavior, right? If this behavior occurs in private, many automatically reinforced behaviors could occur in private. It doesn't have that social mediation component. So these behaviors that occur in private, how do we observe them? How do we record them? Well, sometimes we could think about the effect that the behavior leaves on the environment. And we can know if the behavior happened or not based on the effects on the environment. So we mentioned like bathroom tissues. If we see the bathroom tissues in the toilet or in the garbage after the client went in, we could assume that they used them, perhaps. And also, it's a great idea to do this over like a direct observation recording because we're thinking about our client's dignity, we're thinking about their privacy, we're thinking about honoring those human rights with our VIP, which always should be a consideration when we're implementing ABA. So I think it's a great recording method for that type of behavior, especially because of the upholding client dignity and respect. So I really like that idea. This method in the picture, his boss comes at the end of the day and pays him per broom made, and the boss will come and count how many brooms he made and see that effect on the environment, and then this gentleman will get paid out accordingly. Permanent product also could be useful for behaviors, like I said, that occur in private, like clothes ripping, those kind of behaviors where we could go in later and see that the behavior happened or not when no one was looking. Important consideration is that there's no other methods that effect could have happened on the environment. So if this guy had like a robot that made brooms as well, we couldn't be sure if this guy made them or the robot made them, right? So another consideration with permanent product, we want to make sure that that effect on the environment couldn't have happened due to other methods that maybe happened in the environment when we weren't around. Permanent product. So important for us to kind of throw that in our toolbox just in case. Does anyone have any questions or anything to add about permanent product? Okay. We have some definitional measures. We have topography, the physical form or shape of the behavior. And we usually write this in our behavioral definition. We're going to write what the behavior looks like, but it could be also a way we are recording behavior as well. We're more interested in what the behavior looks like rather than the effects on the environment. And we have one of my favorite players, Shaq here. And Shaq was real bad at shooting free throws. So what did his coach do? What did his coach care about that Shaq did?
This is free throws.
Yeah. So how did the coach teach him, do you think?
That he had the correct form. Make sure
that he had the correct form. So he was really interested in making sure that he lined up at the line, and he was really interested in the behaviors rather than the effect the behavior had on the environment. So he lined up at the line, he centered his shoulders towards the board. I don't know. He did all those kind of things. We hope he did, but I don't know if he did because he never got much better. But the coach was really interested in teaching his form or what the behavior looked like. Other ways we talked about in the past were like penmanship, how you hold the pen could improve how you're writing. Riding a bike, we care a lot about the form on the bike, how you're sitting, how you're positioning, how you're moving your legs. So those kind of things, we are more interested in what the behavior looks like or the form. So that could be a way we are recording data as well. We have magnitude, and we have this in our FBA results section of our FBA document. And magnitude refers to the force or intensity of a response. And usually we write in there mild, moderate, or severe based on the intensity of the behavior. I included like a little star chart. That's how stars are categorized, by the magnitude of their brightness. So this is one way they're classified, I guess. So magnitude might be how we record behaviors as well. And we definitely have that in our FBA section, like I mentioned. Does anyone have any questions about definitional measures or anything we reviewed today? So guys, I do have like a handout for this particular training. It's selecting, and which I will, we could take a look at if you guys want to, because we have a little bit of time here. And I'll be happy to share this with you guys as well. And this could be a useful document, especially when you first started thinking about it. If you ever like run into like any kind of problem where you're not sure exactly how to record or what recording method you should choose. This is also a great read. Can you guys see my screen? It's written by Brandon's
Yeah.
favorite,
Yes.
one of Brandon's favorite professors, Linda LeBlanc.
Very
This
nice,
is
very nice. There she is. Yep.
And this is a proposed method for selecting measurement procedures for the assessment and treatment of problem behavior. So this is a great little article. It goes into all the recording methods that we went into with a little bit more explanation of the limitations and the strengths of these methods. So again, just furthering your education, growing your toolbox. It's going to get into all the types of recordings. But the thing I really like that Linda included in here is this flow chart, because we love our flow charts, and it kind of could lead you to a correct data recording method if you follow along. Is this problem behavior observable? Yes. Is the problem behavior discrete and countable? No, maybe. Are the observations resources sufficient to continuously monitor problem behavior? And look, if they're not, we're going to choose momentary time sampling. If we stick yes, partial interval recording. So it's going to tell us exactly what we should be using here for the types of behaviors that we are interested in recording upon. So use this document, guys. I mean, use it in the very least to just read it to improve your ABA skills, but you could also think about it and refer to it if you're having trouble choosing an appropriate data recording method. So this might be a good starting place or a good place to go to if you're having trouble recording. So I'll be happy to send this out to you guys so you guys have it in your toolbox. Do you guys have any questions or anything to add about measurement or anything else? All right, guys. Well, as normal, it's been great talking with you. I hope you guys have a great holiday weekend. And thanks for your participation and your attention today. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.
You too. Stay
Thank
cool,
you.
guys.
Thank you. Have a good one.